with Phrankleen. If this is your first time, thank you for stopping by. Don't forget to like the video so we can gain more traction. If you like what I'm about, check out my playlist for a lot of interesting videos. And this is the segment called Say It Like It Is, where we talk about eclectic topics that affect us within the Black community. All right. So if you like what I'm about, don't forget to smash the like button, give consideration to smash on the subscribe button, select the all option. So that way you're notified when I'm online. Okay. Let's see who is online. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. What's going on, people? So for those watching for the first time, this segment is called Say It Like It Is. Big Shaq, Samson, what's going on, people? David Osilaja, watching from Manitoba, Canada. Angel, what's up? Dinah. So this one, Kingsley. Come on, Kingsley, I'll respond to you, man. This week, everybody that's pending their divination, you're going to get your response this week, okay? I'm trying my best, man. There's a long queue. You know, everybody has something they're trying to ask the universe for. Avery, what's up? Isla, what's up? So people are getting divinations done, sacrifices, appeasement. I didn't expect to be, bombarded. So, and I'm trying my best dealing with the administrative side of things, dealing with emails. It's a lot, okay? But I'll get to everybody by the end of this week. I promise. I'm working really hard, all right? If you're listening, you're wondering what that is, I've got a service called IFA Divination Hub. There'll be a website coming up soon. So, because I'm an IFA practitioner, so I've provided the service. The website is going to go live in about a couple of weeks or so. So, it's basically if you're interested in Akosejaye, which is a predestination check about what you're called to do on this planet, relationship compatibility checks. You're trying to make a move from diaspora to Africa, business, whatever important things that are important, in your life. If I can do checks for you, okay? You can get answers, and it's spiritual, it's the universe. So that's what that's about, okay? If you're interested, send me an email for channel1960@gmail.com. Please, I don't reach you on email. What does that mean? Anyways, so this story, I saw Dinah earlier. What's up, Dinah? This story came from a gentleman that watches my channel. Welcome to Storytime. If this is your first time, Storytime is basically where we talk about eclectic topics. Like I said from the start, people send me their stories to my email address. If it resonates with me, I convert it to a live stream like this. Of course, I make you anonymous. And the premise of this is hopefully as a collective, we can hopefully learn one or two things from these experiences. It's as simple as that, okay? So, now, this brother, been married to his wife for a bit, said when they started dating, I think the parents were not, there was a bit of a stormy start to the relationship. He said, particularly the mother-in-law, at the time when they were dating, very picky, very nosy, trying to know what his intentions were for his daughter. That's all right. Any parent would do that. The father-in-law, he claimed, was a bit laid back at the time and all that. She comes from a wealthy family, reasonably wealthy, right? So anyway, and he said his own parents are like, what you would regard them as civil servants in Nigeria and all that. So anyway, boy meets girl, girl meets boy, they fell in love, they were dating and all that stuff. Now, he said even though he fell in love with her and all that, but a lot of things were sorted for her by the parents. You cannot castigate her for that. She came from a bit of a wealthy background, and he himself, he struggled and came from the mud, didn't have a silver spoon or a golden spoon, whatever you want to call it, and but they kind of found a common ground emotionally. Now, as life went on, before they got to the point of uh, getting married and all that stuff, she would always travel to the UK, US for like vacation, during holidays, summer breaks, would go abroad for like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and stuff. So, she was used to traveling abroad. So eventually, as life went on, they got married. Families got to know themselves and all that, and then they both decided to relocate to the UK, which they came here, and it was a bit of a rocky start, particularly for the gentleman, but things fell in place. At some point, kinda. They got a job, they were working, they settled here, they had a couple of kids. Now, the guy said over time, the mother-in-law, he's always had, the parents would come to the UK very often. They got a bit of money. They would come and they had a blatant disregard for boundaries. And anytime he picked this up with his wife, she would always say, "Oh, you are overreacting. It's nothing. I'm the one that you're married to. Oh, you're doing this." And she would start crying. So he said the parents had these attitude towards this guy that would sort of belittle him, like he's like even some of her siblings. So, and you can imagine, over time, he claimed to be putting up with this disrespect. And so when the parents, anytime they come from Nigeria, they wouldn't normally stay with them. They would stay somewhere else, but they would come. They might say, "Oh, we're coming to spend 4 days or 5 days or one week with you guys." And while staying with them, they would complain about everything. They would say to their daughter, "How come your plasma TV is this old? Why don't you have your plasma TVs is a lot more sharper? This. How come your couch, your settee is this? How much is your husband earning? The quality of things doesn't look great. We raised you better." They would always complain and point finger at the man. So one day it got to a breaking point for the guy. He confronted both, in-laws, her parents, and he said he was moved to tears because they would always taunt him. He worked for the NHS. He had a managerial role that he was promoted to from working in the administrative department for some time, and then he's a manager of a team and all that. And he said they were paying their bills, kids were well looked after. So, but the parents, during the course of their stay, he didn't have a choice. They would claim that they wanted to spend time with their grandchildren. So they would take them to like places like Selfridges. They would shop for them. Also, they would use the grandchildren as excuse, and then they bought new TV and say, better TV for you to watch these and enjoy yourselves. And they would literally replace things around the house. And his wife would 24/7 defend her parents to the T. They would shower the children with like really expensive stuff, and sometimes said there was an incident. There was a day when they brought them back home whilst they were in the UK. I said, "Oh, tell your dad the type of restaurant, particularly the mother-in-law. Tell your dad the restaurant we took you to, what sort of things, how much were the drinks and the food, what sort of things grandpa and grandma, paid for." Basically, it was a psychological attack on this guy. So they used everything and anything to attack him, to belittle him, and all that. So he said at some point he was forced to speak to his own parents, right? And his parents would ask him not to confront them anymore. Ilé onígbàgbọ́ ló ti wá, ọmọ abílẹ̀ rẹ̀, all that blah, blah, blah. Um, Katie Frimpy, thank you for the super chat. So he called his parents, particularly his own dad, had an extensive conversation. They just tried to say, just remain mellow. So the parents waited for them to return from the UK. So they got up back in Nigeria. They went to see the in-laws to try to iron things out, and as adults, versus adults, hoping that whatever their concerns were, they would be able to resolve, whatever issues and all that. Now, his own parents were dragged, not physically dragged, but you can imagine they shockingly got a truckload of disrespect thrown at them. They talked about how their son was ensuring their daughter was wallowing in poverty in the UK. They've always known that he's a never to do well type, and they have the right to be concerned about their own daughter. So that led to how do you call it? Friction and argument and all that stuff. And anyway, the parents left. Major crack. But at every point, this guy's wife would always defend her parents. Now, fast forward, then came the pandemic. The pandemic came, and unfortunately, as you know, the pandemic affected so many people, job losses, particularly, finances got obliterated and things like that. Now, this guy unfortunately lost his job, had a bit of savings and all that stuff. Now, he was trying his best. A lot of people started working remotely and things like that. So during the course of the pandemic, even prior to that, she was getting, tons and tons of monetary support from her parents. So husband said he could deduce, he knows what she earned from her job. He could deduce that, oh, hang on, where are you getting all this monies? But she didn't, he had his suspicions, but she would say, oh yeah, from my savings, or this and this and this, I've always saved. So her two brothers also live in the UK, but they don't really talk to her husband because of the parents. They don't have that smooth relationship. So every month they would always give her money, and basically this lady was handing them a blueprint of the family's financial struggle. So if she goes to her brothers or call her mom and dad and say, we need X, Y, Z. Thank you, David, for the super chat. We need X, Y, Z, or I'm struggling with this and this and this. They would give her money, but she would conceal the details of all of this from her husband. You can imagine that behavioral pattern. So they were paying, I think, their rent and all that, even some of the car finance, right? So until one day, the guy said letters came in the post, and he doesn't really look through his wife's letters and stuff, but she had this particular envelope on the shelf, and then it was a bank statement. So he had a look, and he found that the wife had been getting transactions, like financial transactions from Nigeria, from a dad transferred to her. So that led to a major argument and uncovered a lot of things that for a long time the wife's parents had pretty much through backdoor hijacked the marriage, and had been funding the marriage through the back door and all that. Now, these led to a major argument. And as I speak, the marriage has sort of hit the rocks finally, because he feels violated. Her position is, oh, you can't stop me from collecting money from my dad and mom, or from collecting money from my siblings. We have a tight relationship, yada, yada, yada. That doesn't mean I don't love you, but you can't stop me. And his argument is, no, I'm not trying to stop you. I'm telling you that um, you're violating, you know, the premise of our marriage and all that stuff. And it says, is she not working? Um, he didn't say much about that, but I would imagine maybe working, you know, because husband's not working, struggling, just about got a new job recently. So perhaps what she was earning wasn't enough for them to sustain themselves. Do you understand? I would imagine that she was working and stuff, but he lost his job due to the pandemic. Now, so he confronted her parents, and parents said, you know, it's you're not man enough, we can't watch our daughter. So basically everything going on within the core of that relationship, financial struggles, whatever needs the children, the parents were funding it. And the parents were funding it, and inclusive of her siblings. So dude said, the wife's position with the backing of her parents is, you can't, you can't stop us from providing for her if she needs something. So now he's asking for a divorce, and that's where they are right now. So he was like, Franklin, this is the current situation, and he's actually looking to move out. Some people said he's overreacting, you know, like third parties listening to this. So it's kind of like a split reaction. Some people claim that, oh, this dude is overreacting, you know, this, just ignore them. But he's claiming that he has been made worthless within the confines of that relationship. What do you guys think? Let me see your comments. Let me see your reaction. Now, this is my own, it's a very straightforward story. This is my own comment. I think it's a blatant disregard. Exactly. JR said he married her and her parents. There were 4 people in that marriage, not 2. There is no way you can justify that. So this is what I'm saying. When I say you talk about marriage, the union, first of all, there's got to be boundaries. The boundaries of that union shouldn't be open to third parties. Blue collar brother, thank you. It shouldn't be open to third parties. And the whole idea of, I've seen people go into relationship with this type of attitude that everything and anything that goes on, they have their parents barging in and people snooping in and third parties just disregarding the boundaries of that union. So somebody said it's not good enough to ask for divorce. I would tell you why it may be good to ask for divorce. I'll tell you. Now, it's one thing that there are problems in the union, right? If you have one person pig-headed and say, oh, you can't stop me from asking my parents. And this has been going on, as he said, for nearly 2 years, right? That they run to their parents and tell them all of your business. They are daddy's girl or daddy's boy, and you have your in-laws funding your union through the back door. You're done. You know, so such person doesn't have a good grasp of what a marriage entails. You dig? Because what I don't understand is, why would you leave the door open to taking his word for gospel here? As a female, I absolutely agree with him. If you're a mommy's daddy's girl, you're not ready for marriage. Marriage is not for kids. Thank you. If she's not comfortable to manage or leave with her current financial she can step out and live the life she grew up knowing. Thank you. Because the whole idea of you can't tell me, and let me tell you, let me break it down even further. Thank you, Isla. Emasculating behavior, and he's outnumbered. They support her disrespect. Exactly. See, this is a Yoruba family. I'm a Yoruba man. I'm a Nigerian, as a lot of you know. Let me tell you the truth. And I'm talking about our culture now. A lot of you know this. I don't care how anybody tries to paint this. If you have You're in a union, you're in a marriage where in-laws barge in and they are deliberately, they connive and they are undermining you, looking down on you, treating you like a doormat, like you're a never to do well type. And they are, you know, basically bullying you financially, doing all that. You will never be respected in that marriage, even in the extended parts of the family. Because, think about it. It's a straight violation. Think I'm a father and I've got kids and I've got some other third parties taking care of business behind my back. They've pretty much hijacked a chunk of my responsibilities, hijacked particularly my role towards my own children, right? So what becomes of you then? Do you understand what I'm saying? What becomes of you? And in our culture, I'll tell you, they will reduce you to a doormat. Oh, they will let you hear it all the time. They will. And again, when people do that, it's a very sinister behavior. They do that so that they can. Somebody said, I don't get it. The family helps and there's a problem. No, it's not. No, I think the problem is you do not understand the premise. What do you mean the family helps? What kind of help is that? Right? You haven't got the right to go into the union of a marriage and hijack, and push the other person to the curb and take over that union. You don't have the right to. If you love your daughter so much, your sister so much, get her out of the marriage if she wants to get out and go help her. Whatever, you can give her £1,000,000. It's no longer the man's business. I think the wife has disregarded their marriage, and I also think the man is angry and asking for divorce because it's the way his parents were treated when they tried to resolve at parents' level. Of course, what was her motive? If her motive was to support her husband while they were in need, then perhaps it may be because she did not realize the consequence. In that case, no. Some people, let me tell you now, it's the way people were raised. The way you were raised, the values that were put into you matters a lot. I need you to understand that bit. If you were raised to be mannerless, if you were raised by parents who will tell you, that there's some parents, say for example, you have a misunderstanding with your partner and you go crying. As long as there's no domestic violence, there's no threat to you, your father, if you're a woman, like, go back there. I don't want to know what's going on in your marriage. Go and sort it. Whatever you put into it determines what you get from it. There are parents that are disciplined that would respect boundaries, all right? But the parents who want to have a blueprint of everything that's happening in your union, that's a very deadly behavior. That doesn't come from a place of love. It's also a control mechanism. If you look at the bigger picture, they are usually narcissistic. That's not love. Because what would make me go? I can understand if say for example, I'm talking hypothetically, my daughter was in a union and they were struggling, and I felt as a father to give her like a one-off gift or something just to help, and you do that discreetly and say, amen, from daddy to daughter, maybe, but not at the detriment of uh not at the detriment of my daughter's marriage or to undermine my daughter's partner. Thank you. It's okay for family to help, but asking for help should have been a team decision from husband and wife. She now has a father thinking this man is unworthy to care for his daughter. The couple needs objective counseling. No family, no friends. But like I say, man, the way people are raised, this is why I always say it's one thing to come from a wealthy family. Money is good, but if you have zero values, discipline, money really can't fix everything. There are plenty of people out there with money and they're just ridiculous people to be around. Just like you may be friends with certain people. I always tell people, if you're friends with anybody, that they show you through their behavior or their speech that they are better than you or they got more. That's not your friend. A true friend would never undermine you. They would never do that. Anybody that you have that type of relationship and they wave that like a flag in your face, they undermine you, they underestimate you, that's not a friend. So, I mean, the point I'm making here is it's a blessing to have parents that can help, but she shouldn't have gone behind her husband's back like that for so long. There are women, I'm sure there are women that would say, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. But I know from our culture, there's no sensible man that would accept that. The moment your in-laws, especially people that have a blatant disregard um, and they barge into the boundaries of the union, you know, and they're taking your children out. Tell your father how much money was spent on you. What could be much more disrespectful? Come on. I believe the guy is as guilty as the wife. When you marry from a rich home, that tends to happen. The story sounds like the guy's family is not that rich. Now, so the point you're making is every rich family is a toxic family. That's what you mean. So if I happen to have so much money tomorrow, it means my values should be reduced to zero. I should then become toxic and inflict my children with toxicity. I disagree. There are rich families out there who are just a bunch of, a-holes. But I don't think that's a fair representation. You can be rich, you can be affluential, you can have money, and you can also have good values. Guys, we're not saying you shouldn't get help from your parents. You have to be careful, especially most Nigerian parents. It's control. This is what I'm trying to say. When people are saying, "Oh yeah, my dad is doing this," my dad, you see, parents that behave like that, they are narcissists, and they would eventually weaponize that help against you because they use that to control you and everything about you. Naturally, don't like it when married female friends ask me for financial help as it seems disrespectful to the husband. That's me, though. Oh, I agree. I agree. Money is power, and it sounds as if the wife's family is attempting to flex that power in his daughter's marriage. Absolutely. It's better that he leaves. Sounds like he's taken the back seat for too long, and now he can't speak his mind or head his family. People know who to try what with. Yeah. If I use myself as an example, I can't be in a relationship where I have my woman. I'm talking hypothetically, and then my woman's parents come through the back door and hijack. I'm not even that type of person by nature. I'll give you fire straight. Are we making this work as a unit, or I'm not going to be anybody's doormat where you come into my union and then you come and hijack. You're trying to show me that I'm less of a father to my own children. That's evil. It's one of the things that can destroy people psychologically. Imagine you telling another man's children, "Hey man, look at me. I can buy you better shoes than your father can afford." That's evil. That's absolutely toxic. Let's say, for example, the man can only afford to buy £30, pair of shoes for his children today, or because you got money as in-laws and you can take them to some fancy place and spend £500 on some Gucci's and Prada shoes, means what? Their father is less of a father? Hey man, tell your father where we took you to and how much we spent on you. That's just cold, man. Thank you, Lency. Honestly, I know a couple like this. The woman was ignorant of how her act made her spouse feel. If a person has to go behind their spouse, there is a communication issue. Bullseye. Thank you. I feel this can be fixed. And before I forget, I've said this before. I'm going to say it again for those that are probably watching me for the first time. For example, if I take it back to like the African families, most within the black community, it's quite prevalent. You have a lot of families, especially in-laws, mother-in-laws, father-in-laws, that disregard boundaries. It's a very simple concept. The union is the man and wife and man, husband and wife, and it's not a playground for the mother-in-law or for the father-in-law. It's not. You understand? So, like my marriage, my union, my home is not a playground for my parents. It's not a playground for my in-laws. No, it's not. My mom has a union with my father. That's her playground. My life, my own space. It's not a playground. The moment you let people in, whether knowingly or unknowingly, it never ends well. They will disrespect you, they'll violate you, all sorts of things, man. It should be watertight. Let's say we're genuinely struggling, okay, and we need help. Okay, it should be a mutual agreement. Babe, we might be able to get help from mom and dad or something like that. And if talking hypothetically, let's say, think life happens. I've lost my job due to the pandemic, right? So, and I'm not working at the moment. I'm actively looking for another job. That happens every day. That's life, yeah. So my wife knows we're struggling, and she took initiative. She can get some financial help from her mom and dad, and so we can cover bills, particularly because we got children and stuff. I think I'll be a selfish father if I latch onto my ego and watch my children struggle without food, right? Of course, but not leave the door open and your family barge in and take over and insulting your husband, belittling your husband's parents, walking all over them because they got a bit of money in their bank account. No way. My mom spent on my kids. However, they leave it there and not mention any time after that because it's for them. Another angle is that the guy had an idea of what the marriage would look like right from courtship. He ignored the red flags. Yeah, that's a good point, Kazim. That's a very good point. Thank you for saying that. Red flags. Red flags. It's red flags are not even gender specific. It's when guys see certain things about a woman and you ignore and you think, oh, miraculously they would change. No. Or a woman, you notice that a guy is violent or is very poor with financial management or something, and you can see, but you ignore. What do you think is going to happen within the confines of the union? The marriage is not a miracle ground. In fact, the enjoyment of any marriage or any union is based on what you both put in terms of effort, daily, weekly, monthly, ongoing effort, financially, emotionally, friendship wise. Your input determines what you get from it. It's that simple. So, like Kazim said, well spotted. If you ignore red flags, you'll always pay for it. If you're dating a woman and she's dirty, she's filthy, she has zero hygiene, what do you think is going to happen in that marriage? You know, if you're dating a man who is reckless, what do you think is going to happen? Samuel, thank you. Oh, he thought he could compete with the family. Perhaps. What if the situation was reversed and the man was the one getting help from the parents? Would that be okay with the wife, or is it a matter of masculinity? I think you're creating a brand new narrative out of that. I don't think, for me, from my point of view, to respond to you, is it Megidon? These type of behavior is not gender specific. So I wouldn't approach it about reversing roles. If we go down that direction, it leads to sort of this gender mudslinging, and that's not what it's about. If the roles were reversed, if it's the other gender, what's bad is bad. I had someone years ago. I had a member of my extended family here in the UK. The person is late now. When they used to be in a relationship, her parents absolutely destroyed her marriage. Why? Because as soon as she has any misunderstanding with a partner, she goes and tell her father, right? And then the father would come and confront her husband. Or as soon as she has a major friction with a husband, like at home, it could be late at night, they had argument, like most couples do, and she rings daddy, blah blah blah, because the parents live about roughly 10 minutes away from them. The dad would say, get some of your clothes, move out, and come and meet me at home. So that became a pattern. And this lady wasn't interested in making her relationship work, amalgamating her emotions with a partner, expressing herself, and fixing it. Any little glitch or friction, she runs to dad. Trust me. And eventually, the whole thing collapsed. As a member of my mother side of the family, and we watch that relationship deteriorate, eventually hit the rocks, crashed, and totally destroyed. Couples have to learn to keep others, especially a parent. When you are dating people, here's the last thing I want to say. I think there's always the handwriting on the wall. There are tell signs. When you're dating someone, you would know someone, and it's not a case of saying someone shouldn't have a relationship with their parents or whatever, but you would know someone is a loose cannon if they're a basket case, whereby the moment you're dating a woman, for example, and it's, oh yeah, me and my girlfriends, everything you're talking about, you're doing is spilling out to her friends, her girlfriends, or my brother, my sister, third parties. That's a huge flag. That's a huge flag. The moment you're dating a man, and the beginnings of, oh, your jollof rice. It would have been nice if your jollof rice spent a few more minutes on fire for the rice to get a little soft, and then the next thing is comparing your cooking skills with his mom, and he's sad, and he's already telling his sisters via WhatsApp, and 2 weeks later you're talking, and then from conversation it emanates that he sort of made reference to that jollof rice whilst he was talking to his mom. That's a big red flag, man. There are dudes that do that. There are men that do that. If you have a misunderstanding, I've heard this one before, that a guy and a woman had a misunderstanding. Women do that. That happens all the time, depending on the complexity and the nature of the argument, misunderstanding. So the woman was not making love to him. Megadon, thank you for the super chat, was not making love to a husband. Like in the space of a week, they were keeping malice, and he told his mom about sexual deprivation. The dude at the time was a 38-year-old. How do you even have that conversation? Hello, mom. Yeah, good evening. Um, uh, Sharon, Sharon is Sharon is subjecting me to sugar wall deprivation. How do you even have that kind of conversation with your mother? That's insane. Mom, but Sharon is denying me of my fundamental marital rights. you know, and the mom summoned both of them, the mother-in-law summoned both of them, and then started telling her, you haven't got the right to do that to my son. What kind of a woman are you? Blah, de, blah, de, blah. That lady ended up leaving that marriage. The woman blew it out of proportion. The whole family members saying, oh, you don't have the right to lock the vagina from your man. Wow. So eventually the whole thing hit the rocks and they parted ways. Do you understand? So these are red flags that you could actually get from people and when you're dating them. There's a difference between your dad's your dad. You know, he raised you. He's always been in your life. You know, he's been part of your life before you met me. I get that. But, you know, if this relationship is serious and all that, and you take everything within the confines, we have a misunderstanding about maybe finance and little thing, and then the next thing, boom, you go and tell your dad. Your dad has an opinion. My girlfriend in Nigeria stopped talking to me because I didn't send her money. I gave her the world, but I can't give what I don't have. Maybe she's just doing that that temporary, you know, just that temporary thing. I need money, you know. I don't know the context, but if somebody really they're like doggone serious, stop talking to you because you stop giving them money and they're like really, really serious and they kind of cut you off and they're giving you a hard time, bro. I think you should dodge a bullet. That's except there is something else to to that. But if it's because you've not given them money and you used to give them money and then they stop talking to you, let them go, bruh. That's mommy's boy taking over. Yeah. So that's it. That's it about the story tonight. It's about boundaries, man. I don't know. I'm only sharing my views and Rembels, thank you for the super chat, man. Respecting boundaries are big issues within the black community. I'm narrowing it down. I'm a Nigerian dude, so you shouldn't be surprised I'm coming from that. I'm a Yoruba man. It's serious. I can't count the number of people I had to fight off like Hercules. I have to put my foot down, man. The boundaries of my relationship is made out of Isla, thank you. The boundaries of my relationship is made out of the strongest iron. Like, it's a no-go area, you're not welcomed. And that's one of the ways I enjoy peace within that union. It's a no-go area for parents and it's for both sides. No third parties. Whatever BS we got going on, let's talk about it. Let's deal with it. That's the way you can enjoy longevity. That's really the way you can nurture true friendship. For years, it's always been the man's family that's rich and the wife gets disrespected by the in-laws. Now it's reverse. I do not feel sorry for the man. Payback as, come on, Faith. We're not dealing with misandry here, man. You don't feel sorry for the man because he's a man, because you got internalized issues regarding men. That's not how we get better. We don't do that here, man. That's toxic. Some women, you gloat about seeing an innocent man suffering because of your internalized disdain for men, you know, that has nothing to do with the topic, but because you think men are scum, because you've had all these issues, or probably your baby daddy broke your heart, and that has nothing to do with the show or this story. So you think all men should suffer. That's totally wrong. Mm? Faith Ford, see a therapist. Yeah. And vice versa, you know. There are men, because of your experience, you think all women are gold diggers, all women should do this, all women should die. Oh, nah. There are certain things that are common with women, no doubt, but having that blanket view, and it's very toxic, you know. It does nothing for you. It just ensures that you are filled with bitterness, and it doesn't really get you anywhere. So, oh, Megadon, thank you. That's my story for tonight. I hope we've picked one or two things, man. Protect the boundaries of your union. Learn to say no to mommy and daddy, you know. And yeah, that's just my view. Thank you for your contributions. It's a bit of a short one, bit late. If you haven't, follow me on Instagram at Phrankleen, as it's spelled on my YouTube channel. If you are interested in divination checks, we are for real, okay? Send me an email to footchannel1960@gmail.com. The website is going on live very, very soon. Ifa Divination Hub. I'm a proud practitioner of Ifa African spirituality. It predates the religion of the invaders, okay? And it basically uncovers your essence, who you are, what your Ori aligns with, why you were brought to this planet, helps sort of hit the reset button if you're in the wrong direction. What were you called to do? What career path should you really focus? Because everybody is a business analyst doesn't mean you have to. Because everybody is a project manager doesn't mean you have to. Because everybody is working as an RN nurse in the US doesn't mean you have to be a nurse. Perhaps the universe aligns you to be into poultry farming and every other things that has nothing to do with nursing. Okay, if you have a little child, do you know why that beautiful baby girl or boy was given to you by the universe? What were they called to do? So there is what we call akosejaye, predestination check. It serves as a powerful guideline for the parents or the guardian of the child to know what your wonderful baby boy or girl or even you was called to do in the dispensation. I've given fantastic divination outcomes, to people. It's been very busy. So if you're interested, bang me an email and let's take it from there. If you're waiting for or on me, forgive me, I'll be in touch latest by the end of this week, every single one of you. Okay, that's me done. And follow me on Instagram. Thank you for the super chat, and I'll catch you in the very next one. Peace and love. Good night. Bye bye now.